Andrew Montic here. Hi, Jessica. I'm going to attempt to answer your question, which was since companies are by nature in existence to make profit, how are we able to trust that company supposedly involved with corporate philanthropy? I think that's a really good point, and I think Pogue makes a good attempt at solving it, even though it's a bit short sighted. He's a brilliant economic philosopher. I am not. This is just my first impression. So, taxing affluent countries and giving the money to more developing countries seems like a great idea, especially if we take that money from well off companies. I don't know if that's necessarily sustainable in the long term, though. For example, right now, love him or hate him, President Trump is a very business friendly president. I don't know if he and by extension his administration would necessarily be a fan of taking money from our country and redistributing it other places in the world. So I think Gates has probably offered a more universal kind of solution about convincing companies that it's in their best interest to operate in other countries. So a company, making inexpensive mosquito netting from recycled bottles, I think was one of the examples in the Gates reading, is a great idea. But as you pointed out with your Nestle example, there's lots of opportunities to exploit local labor for nefarious purposes. So I think accountability is the huge thing that Gates actually doesn't talk about. Doesn't really surprise me. Again, I'm a little bit biased against the huge corporate America types. But I think accountability needs to come from within. So we need to make it okay for local populations to serve as their own watchdogs and report to their countries about the goings on within that company, wherever they may be located. So Gates, I think, is on the right path. Pogue he's not wrong in that probably would solve some problems, but I tend to side with the companies a little bit more in that they need to kind of get to that on their own. We can't do it without accountability. That's it. Hope it answered it for you, and see you next week.